Say, Mr. Bastian.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and it's good to see some familiar faces on here. So, hello, everybody.
For those of you that don't know Mike Bastian, he's got a great history in real estate and technology. He was my coach for a period of time a few years back when I launched the Basking Ridge Market Center. And one of his strong points are numbers, you know, all different aspects of numbers. And we were going to be bringing him in this month to teach Market Center financials. And since that didn't work out, we shifted and have you here today. And we kind of morphed it. It'll feel like a little bit like Market Center financial discussion, which also translates to the agent financials, correct?
You got it. Yeah. You know what's fun about that, Michael? You're spot on. Here's the reality. When you look at a Market Center and you look at the financials, it's just a scaled up version.
Put it in there, but see.
Yeah, it's just a scaled up version of the same of agents' financials.
Right.
So the concepts are the same. The line items might be a little different, but the concepts we're going to be talking about today are spot on, whether it's an agent's business or a Market Center business.
And a lot of times,
business is business.
When we look at the one P&L, it might only be one little phrase that needs to be changed to take it from Market Center to agent. And as franchise, as real estate companies, we want to help the agent financial, because if your agent financials aren't doing well and your income is not doing well, then it affects us as well. We're all in the same boat.
We are all in the same boat.
And I think we're kind of split. I think we're kind of split this call into two topics. Correct me if I'm wrong. A little bit in the beginning is going to talk about, you know, maybe perhaps why or what you need to have a financial, because we were making a bet earlier on what percentage of agents actually have a financial, and trying to figure out, is it 8%, 10%, or is it higher? So raise your hand or put a note in the chat box if you do have financials. Financials for your business, a budget, a P&L. So on my main screen, I see 3, 4, so 5. So again, so part of this is what you should have there, and then the other aspect is ways to hold your money accountable. Correct?
You got it. That's exactly right. And I just want to say, for those of you that rose your hand, I saw that a lot of you were people that I've coached personally in the past. So thank you that even if you didn't have it, it was a politically right thing to do to raise your hand to say that you did in that moment. So thank you for that.
Because we all lied. We all lied to our coach at some time. Yes, I'm making those calls. Yes, I am exercising. Right, Rebecca?
Yeah, I am exercising. Yeah. And by the way, I really am exercising. I gotta show you this. If y'all don't have one of these, you gotta get one, because we do a lot of sitting down on Zoom calls. So talk about movement, Michael. I went and bought one of these things.
Nice.
The bicycle sits under my desk here, right? So I can tell my personal coach that yes, I got my exercise in today. So yeah, you got it.
Your feet are always moving. So where should we start? Where should we start today, Mike?
Okay, great question. So let's dive into this. So for those of you that have known me, just again, real quick background. I've been with Keller Williams since 2002. Came over as an agent from another company, just like so many of you did, and I was doing right around 48 to 50 transactions a year. And then something really cool happened for me personally. One, I became a team leader and then became an OP and multiple Market Center OP. But something really cool happened to my real estate business. It was the shift. And my business moved from doing 50 transactions a year, and I doubled during that time period. So my business actually went up, and I did over 100 transactions during the shift period. So some things I'm going to be sharing with you today is we're going to be talking about Market Center financials. Yet we're going to take the financials of a Market Center and we're going to 100% translate it into the world of being a real estate agent, because guess what? It's 100% translatable, okay? Yep. So a couple quick things we're going to be looking at today. Now, I do have a presentation, and we're just going to get through the first 2 parts of it today, and that's honestly the most important pieces we need to get through. But can I share a screen?
Yeah, you should be able to share your screen.
Sorry, Mike. Okay. Sorry, my last call, I had a mark on the call, and I was sorry about that. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here.
Emily, he should have access to share a screen, correct? Cool.
Thank you. I do. All right. So we're going to think of it in terms of this. Now, actually, we pause for a moment. I've had some feedback a little bit in the past from other people that the analogy I'm about to use some people felt it was a little controversial as an analogy because of what's happening with COVID. And I just want to put it right up front. It's not my intention to make anything in light of anything. Okay.
And Michael asked me about it earlier, would this be considered insensitive? And I don't think so, because I do want you to think about your business this way. I do want you to think about your financials. And Mike, if you remember during the last shift, we use this analogy all the time.
Yes, we did.
We did
really did.
The vital signs reports. How is the health of your business? How is the health of your financials? So
that's exactly right, Michael, and that's where that term vital signs, all those things came from. So I want you to think about for a moment. Right now, with what we're dealing with across the board, saving your real estate agent business is like saving a life. And when it comes to saving a life, there are 4 life-saving steps. Okay, and we're going to draw the parallel here with your business to those steps. Okay, so the first step. Can you all see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So the 4 life-saving steps when it comes to triage, and we're going to talk about financial triage here, is 1 is stop the bleeding, 2, start the breathing, 3, protect the wounds and treat for shock. And when I was in the Marines, boy, they drilled this one to us. I mean, I've got this one memorized for the last 30 years. Stop the bleeding, start the breathing, protect the wounds, and treat for shock. So when we look at this from a market center perspective, stopping the bleeding, the equivalent of that is holding your expenses accountable and cost cutting. Now, this is shift tactics number 1, 2, and 3 rolled up into basically one statement right here, which is stop the bleeding. Okay, as you're looking at what you're spending money on, we're going to look at 3 different things. Okay, actually, we're not looking at 3 different things. We're going to look at everything you're spending money on, and we're going to ask ourselves 3 questions about it. Okay, so question number 1. So first of all, before we even do this, everybody, get all your expenses in one place. Get a budget. And we're going to talk about that in a moment here. We're actually going to give you all the spreadsheet to create a budget, to do budget cost cutting with it, and actually create a triage, create a pivot budget, and how to front load that. We're going to talk about that today. Okay, so step 1 though, we're going to get all those expenses in one place, and then when we got them in one place, these are the 3 questions you're going to ask about each one of them. So number 1, how specifically, notice how it's underlined, specifically, does having this bring me a return on investment? That's question 1. Question 2, do I absolutely need to have this in my business? Number 3, can I do this and have this differently in a way that reduces my costs or get it down to 0? Okay.
So just to highlight it for a second, I had to call, and by the way, I brought in some medical staff behind me in order to help with this conversation. Hope you guys are okay. They know more than I do. I was speaking with an agent today, and we said, well, what are some of the things you've cut back on? Where are some of the areas you're saving money in your business? And he said, I stopped sending out all types of mailings to my database. I said, well, how much business did you do from your database last year? Well, it was 65% of my business. Okay, so maybe that's not the area we want to cut. Maybe
exactly.
Maybe we need to change what we send. It might be deemed sending a just listed, just sold might be insensitive, but perhaps it's some other type of postcard reminder of who you are, because that's a large aspect of your business. So again,
or who we're sending that to. So towards the end here, we're going to quickly talk about start the breathing. We're talking about the market of the moment. And this is a game of who moved my cheese right now. If you haven't read that book, you've got to read it right now, because this is a game of your cheese just got moved. Where did it go? And so, yeah. And so, Mike, you might be right. It's not stop sending those out. You might be needing to send those to a new, different group of people who are the new buyers and sellers of the market of the moment, right? So we'll take a look at that. Okay. So 3 questions. So let's go. I'm going to bring up the spreadsheet here, and can you guys see the spreadsheet? Am my screen sharing?
Not yet. You might be paused on the left side. You might need to unpause your screen.
All right, got it. Okay.
There you go.
I'm just going to redo this. Okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Here's what I'm asking all of you to do. So there's some good news and bad news, right? On this call right now, the good news is I am in fact a MAPS leader. I'm in fact a MAPS coach, and I am a trainer, Market Center Financials. That's the good news and the bad news. Because the bad news is, anytime you're working with a coach, you're going to get a homework assignment. So right now, we're all going to get a homework assignment. And since we're all truly actually at home right now, this really is a homework assignment, right? So here's what I'm going to ask all of you to do. Go through your last 3 to 4 months of your bank statements. Literally print out your bank statements. And right now, if you don't have a budget written out, use this spreadsheet and start creating one today. Okay? So print out your last 3 months of bank statements and go through it, literally, go through it line by line on everything you're spending money on in your business. Now, you can do this as well for your personal life. In fact, I would highly recommend it. My wife, Sam, and I actually have one in our personal lives and in our businesses. So what I would ask you to do for this homework assignment is go through your business, and you're going to categorize this line by line. Okay? So as you're looking at this, these categories are right here out of the MREA book, out of the chart of accounts. And what I'm asking you to do in this column right here that says old budget, are y'all seeing this on the screen? Give me a thumbs up if you see it. I just want to make sure that you see what I'm showing. Okay, awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is you're going to create your old budget. Now that's you going through your last 3 to 4 months bank statements, and you're going to start categorizing everything you're spending money on in your business, and you're going to stick it into somewhere. You're going to put it in where it belongs. Okay, and again over here we have the account line items. Now here's one of the interesting things about doing this. I don't want this conversation today to get super wrapped up over the accounting aspect of it, because what we're going to be talking about today is about cash flow. This is about doing triage on your business and stopping the bleeding. Okay, so I want to be clear on that. So one of the rules that we do talk about in financials with accounting is wherever you're going to book something, book it there consistently. I'll give you an example. So if I have car insurance, which I do, right, I can book that under auto expense, or I could book it under insurance. I have more than one place I could book that, but here's what's important. When you book it there consistently so that you know what's actually in that category, okay? Now, and again, this is an Excel spreadsheet, everybody. This is not, a website. This is not how do I say this? This is not something you're going to turn in. Maybe to your team leaders, you might turn this in and work with them on this. But this is editable. Change it. Are you with me?
Hey, Mike, are you okay
Yeah.
if I share this spreadsheet with everyone on the call? I could throw up in the Zoom box?
Absolutely. Yes, please do.
Anyone that wants it's going to be in the chat box in 1 second for you to download.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. So as you go through this, go through your last 3 to 4 months bank statements and park that expense where it belongs and add it up. And again, if you have something that's a one-off, go ahead and create a new line item. Just go ahead and click in here and put a new line of money. Okay, go ahead and this is yours. This is for you. Okay, so what we're going to do, step 1, is you're going to go through those last 3 to 4 months and you're going to put your old budget in here. Okay, step 2, you're going to go over here and you're going to fill in what is it? Who is it? Who's the vendor? Who are you paying? And what specifically is it? Okay. Step 3, you're going to start tracking your notes. And in your notes here, I'm going to be looking at those 3 questions on that PowerPoint I just showed you. So first of all, I want to know what is it? What's inside this line item called salaries? What is it? Question 1, how specifically does my paying that salary bring me a return on investment? And get crystal clear on it. Do it. I want it by the numbers, by the math.
Keep in mind, guys, what he's sharing with you right now is the exact same things your market centers have done over the last 4 to 6 weeks in order to be able to weather the storm. So at KW, we pride ourselves that we don't just teach how to sell real estate, but we teach how to operate a business. And right. we're pulling back the veil right now on exactly what we've been doing for the last couple of weeks and sharing those tools with you.
Yep, you got it, Michael. That's exactly right. So step 2, we ask those questions. Actually, I'm sorry. Step 1, put in your numbers for what you have actually been spending. Okay? And what you have actually been spending, guess what? That's actually your old budget. So even though you haven't had an old budget, truth of the matter is, you have had one. You just didn't have an awareness of what it was because you were spending money on things. So now categorize it, create your old budget, fill in here what specifically are those things and those items, and now start asking yourself, 1, how does it bring me return on investment? Specifically, 2, do I absolutely need to have this thing in my business? And 3, how can I do it differently to either lower the cost or leverage the cost. Okay, and you're going to put those notes over here in the notes section, so you can actually start tracking what you're doing specifically to lower that. Okay.
Sorry about that.
So once you've done that,
I'm fixing that right now. Sorry about that.
yeah, that's good. Sounds like somebody's getting their exercise in. That's good.
You
Okay.
inspire them with your foot thing, guys. You will
that's right.
oftentimes have a live mic, so be careful with that mute button.
Right on. Okay, so as we go through this, we take our old budget, we examine what's in it, we ask ourselves the 3 questions. Now we start creating our new budget, and that's column E. This is now going to be your new budget. So as you do your cost cutting and you ask yourself those questions, you're going to now put your new budget in here. So as you can see, just as an example, when I scroll down here to the bottom, so this example, their old budget was $21,000 a month, and now they got it down to $12,000, just under $13,000 a month, by asking themselves those 3 questions and working on what can they do to renegotiate things, right? What can I do to renegotiate leases with any equipment that I may have or anything I have in my business, okay?
Now, keep in mind, guys, if you do have equipment like that you lease, copiers, other types of bills, call those companies. All of our equipment lease companies gave us 3 months of no payments and tacked them onto the back end. You know, our landlords renegotiated with us. So all those types of things are
That's right. And that's what's really super awesome about this. Well, all of you right here, right now on the screen, you all have the opportunity to work together as a team and share information with each other. Hey, I learned I could cut my costs here by doing this. I learned that I can negotiate this down. So now here's our next step from here. Yes or no, is it likely that our revenue in the second half of this year might go down a little bit?
And I clarified that, where our revenue in the middle of the year is going to go down a little bit. You know, May and June, July, especially in New York, is where we'll feel it the most. And I do think, just a glimmer of hope, I think when the states open back up, you're going to see a huge spring back, and the people doing the right activities right now are going to have an unfair share of buyers and sellers, because there are going to be a lot of people that are waiting and pent up that are going to come out of the gates, and plugging into that now is going to help you recover some of your lost income.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So the game we're going to play right now is called pivot budgeting. And so what we're going to do, so here's the purpose of this game. So right now, up here on line 4, you're going to put your revenue that you're projecting to come in right now. So based on what you have in closings coming in April, based on what's in your pipeline for May, and start creating an estimate of what you believe might be your June and July might start looking like. So you're going to put your revenue in this top line.
And to highlight that, guys, a lot of us are sitting on pendings that we wrote before this happened, and we've still got that closing happening. So the game Mike's getting into now is how to use that income to its best ability to weather the storm that we're going to see in about 2 months.
That's right. That's right. So what you're going to want to start doing, if you haven't done this already, as we look at the months that we have good revenue still coming in, we're going to start front loading our expenses. And so we do that through what's called prepaids. You start prepaying your expenses. Now, anything that's a prepaid, so here's what we're doing. We're basically doubling up on certain payments this month and next month, so that we've prepaid those payments so we don't end up paying them in June in the months that are going to be lower. So anything that's a prepaid, we're going to be highlighting that yellow. So let me give you an example of one right here. And again, understand, don't get caught up over the line item, just understand the concept of this. Okay, so if my salaries before was $2,400 for my Rainmaker salary, and my new budget is $1,200, and I've got money coming in, I'm actually going to prepay my salary for this month and that month. I'm going to prepay it so that come June and July, it's already been paid. So this is about cash flowing. Now, again, this spreadsheet, I want to be clear on this. This is not about accounting. This is about cash flow. Does that make sense, everybody? The purpose of this spreadsheet is looking at this going, how do I make sure the income I have coming in is paying my bills So I'm maintaining a profitable business throughout this time. Okay, so anything that we're going to be prepaying, we're going to highlight it yellow. So you can see right here, I'm going to prepay my salary here in these months, so that in these months, from a cash flow perspective, I don't have that expense going out. And then anything on here that's going to be a reduction or a concession. For example, what's one of the coolest concessions or reductions right now that Gary Keller has given everybody in coaching? Right now, if you sign up for MAPS coaching, right, you get April and May free. That's a concession. Or if you're currently in MAPS coaching, Gary Keller is personally paying for half your coaching right now. By the way, I want to be clear on that. I've heard some people say MAPS coaching is half off right now. No, it's actually not half off. It's not like it's on sale. Like, you know, I went to the store and this product's on sale. That's not what's happening. Gary Keller is personally paying over $20 million out of his own pocket to cover the cost of half of people who are cover the cost of half the coaching right now. That's a concession.
And keep in mind, if it was just discounted, then all those coaches would not be getting paid as well. So
yeah,
that's being paid both
right.
on your behalf and as a way to support the coaches in that company.
You got it. That's exactly right. So let's look at this category right here. See, we have coaching and consulting, $1,000 a month, and right now there's a concession. Now I would highlight that blue. Does that make sense? Because that would be a concession. I'm highlighting that blue, and then the coaching kicks in these months. Now I want you to think about that for a moment. If I really need that concession for these months, what I could do is I could basically prepay it. I'm paying it to my bank account. I'm prepaying it to myself in my bank account as if I were paying the full amount here, so that come these months, I was now zero. Do you see how to do that? So what I would do is I would change that. So even though these 2 months right here are where we're getting the concession, I'm going to book it as if I were paying it. So now I can take my concession in the months where it's lower. Does that make sense, everybody? And then because that's a concession that covers those 4 months, I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to highlight it blue. Now I'm not actually going to highlight it, but for the sake of time, you get how this works.
Yep.
So anything that's going to be on here that is a prepaid. So I'm moving something from 1 month and I'm parking it into the months where I have more revenue coming in. I'm going to highlight that yellow. Things that are concessions because I renegotiated something or it's temporary, I'm going to highlight that blue. So now by looking at this, by seeing my blues and my yellows, I can now see where I'm moving my revenue. I'm sorry, I can see where I'm moving that cost or that investment to these months, so that when I get down here to the bottom, I am engineering my cash flow. So I'm literally going from, so here's my old expense, say it was $21,000 a month. My new budget, $12,000 is my new budget. Now, because in April, because I have $24,000 coming in, I could prepay a bunch of stuff so that my cash flow expenses come June or July are so low that the cash I do have coming in still keeps me profitable on a profit margin. Okay, so, and by the way, these tabs, April's my EA coach, my executive assistant coach, and she put this together for all of you.
I think
so
she's
April,
on the call,
truly.
so thank you, April. I think I saw her on the call earlier. Hey guys, as Mike's sharing some of these tools, if you've got anywhere where you've been able to help your cash flow or make some adjustments, throw some of those ideas into the group chat so you can kind of share them with everybody else. So again, I just threw something in that I heard from Verizon. So if you've got some areas you're able to adjust your cash flow and renegotiate some of your vendors, then let us know about that. Sorry,
you know what's fun about this is, and when I say it's fun, Michael, what you're saying, it's actually kind of fun to gamify this.
Yep.
So again, as Michael mentioned earlier, I am currently an OP of a couple of market centers, and my MCAs have actually been having fun. They've been gamifying cost cutting, and they'll text each other. Like one will send each other a message, "Hey, I just renegotiated with the bank on our ACH fees and got it from $7 down to $3, right?" And then my other MCA is like, "Oh yeah, I got it down to $2, right?" And so they're actually having fun gamifying this. And that's really truly what I would ask all of you to do is share the information with each other and learn how can you gamify this? What could you do to prepay, do temporary cuts, temporary negotiations as we get through this. So the name of this game is all about margining. And by the way, what shift tactic are we talking about right now? This is right here the concept of remargining your business. So you're seeing it live right here in front of you in practical application. This is how you go through the process of remargining your business, okay? Okay, so any questions? Any questions about the pivot budget and the process to go through?
Actually, Barry Paley, Emily, if you can unmute Barry, I believe he's got a question about fixed versus variable expenses.
Yeah,
Barry,
I apologize. I was a little late to the call, and if I covered it, I'll back off. But when I'm working on my budget, I mean, we have fixed recurring costs that are consistent. And then we have variable costs that depending on how many listings, et cetera. How are you separating that out? Because when I'm working on a P&L,
Yeah.
do it historically, but to do it on a go-forward basis, a lot of that is missing. I generally put in fixed and variable, and then I put in the other ones.
Yeah, sure. Very great question. And truth of the matter is, whether they're fixed or variable, you still get to play the same game. So you still get to ask the question, one, how specifically does it bring me return on investment? Whether it's fixed or variable, either way. How specifically does it bring me return on investment? One. Two, let me share my screen again with the PowerPoint. So how specifically does having it bring me return on investment? Do I, even if it's a fixed or variable, it doesn't matter. Do I absolutely need to have it? And even if it's a fixed expense, you look at that and say, can I do this differently? Is there a way to do that that reduces my cost or even get it down to zero? So can you renegotiate things?
Yeah. Those are the ones that we're negotiating most readily. The fixed costs are generally a little harder. The variable are photographers and all that. I think I was really asking it more from not from
You have that email open?
basis, but just from the P&L
When I
basis.
sent you the 3?
hey, Sergio, your mic's live. We're going to mute you. Go on, Barry.
No, I was saying from a cost-saving basis, you know, we're all over that. I think those are the costs that are much easier. You know, photographers are coming about with us, floor plans, you know, all of the extras that go in.
Yeah.
What I call the property per property basis. But the fixed costs are the harder ones. But I was really talking more or less from coming up with a P&L statement going forward to get a good handle on what our costs look like going forward in respect to it, because the constants, whether we negotiate them or not, are one, but the variable cost, it's really hard to put that into a P&L. If I put up 5 more listings tomorrow, which we're about to do, that's going to take my cash flow and blow it out the water.
It is, and yet that thing's bringing you a return on investment because it's bringing you those listings, correct?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yep, you got it. And that's why those 3 questions are so important to ask each and every one of them, and truly ask them in that order. Is how specifically does that bring me a return on investment? And if it does, you buy it, you use it, right?
Yeah,
you got it.
And I think
it's our pay to play.
Yeah, yep. And I think I think it's important as a top agent to know what your cost per listing is. What is your fixed cost to get a listing live? That way, you know, as things adjust, you can kind of put some basic numbers in there in order to either pull back or ramp up. So, you know, everyone should know what that number is. So if I'm activating 5 listings in the next week, I need $5,362 in order to do that. So
100%. And each listing, of course, they break into A, B's, and C's, because what we're throwing at a luxury listing is going to be different than a condo or whatever. So we can't come up with a general number. We have to classify them.
Yep.
It just gets the P&L very convoluted.
Yep. Now, Mike, I think, did you have a hard stop at 2:30?
I do. I do have one more thing I do want to share real quick, because this will be important if we can go a couple minutes extra. Is that okay, Mike?
Definitely. I want to make sure you're good. And that
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I do have another call I got to get to, and I just texted them to let them know I'll be right there in a minute. But here's the other piece I want to work with you on. So we talked about real quick here. We talked about the 4 life-saving steps and stop the bleeding. That is your financials and creating a pivot budget and remargining your business that we just talked about. And what do you do to bring your expenses down to your revenue that you have coming in? Now, this is about triage. Now, I'm not going to stay there. It's not my intention to stay in that place, is it? I want to bring my revenue up again, don't I?
Yep.
I want to get that revenue going again. I want to get this business breathing again. I want to bring in that revenue coming back in. Okay. So the second piece of this is looking at start the breathing. And starting the breathing is all about where is the market? Okay. So start the breathing is shift tactics 4, 5, and 6. If you threw that into one bucket called start the breathing, it's all about bringing in new revenue. So the question we're going to ask is on agent productivity, where is the new market of the moment? Okay, and we'll talk about what I mean by that in a moment here. And then I want you to all think about this. Everybody uses this terminology, the market is up or the market is down, right? And or the market is normal. Now there's no such thing as normal. There's no normal. There's no such thing as normal. The market is not this. It's not consistent. The reality is it does this. And by the way, when it's up here, we call that the market's up. And it's down here, and we say the market's down, right? That's the terminology we use. Team, let me tell you. Personally, my business doubled during the last, quote, recession. Everybody else had a recession. I did great. I went out and bought a lot of cool stuff, and I was a really good consumer. I wished I would have learned more about investing back in those days because I was a great consumer. Yeah, what had happened, so I'm going to switch to, whoops, let me change my background so you can actually see me.
And while you're doing that, Mike, let me ask. I've been asked if we could share your slides. Are you okay if I share your PowerPoint slides with people?
Absolutely. Please do. 100%.
So Emily, if you could post them in the chat.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, I'm going to switch to a paper point presentation here, right?
High tech.
High tech. Now, here's the truth. The market does this, yes?
Yep. Yep.
Now, in the middle here, there's a space right down the middle here. There's a space always right down the middle of whether we call it up or we call it down. There's always a space in the middle where there's transactions happening, correct?
Yep.
No matter what the market's doing, right? So these people in these spaces here, right? Move ups, move downs, relocation, family downsizing.
It doesn't matter how good or bad. There's always people that need to buy and sell real estate.
That's right. So no matter what, there's always this group of people. Now, when we talk about the market shifting, here's reality. When the market's up, there's a group of people inside this box, correct?
Yep.
So when we say the market's up, who are the people that are buying and selling when the market's, quote, up? Who are those people?
Perhaps investors?
Well, investors are actually down here.
Environment is down. Yep.
Actually, because investors. Now, by the way, those are not investors. Those are speculators. Those are people that actually make the bad decision. Like those are the same people who are selling their stocks off right now when the market's low. Instead of stocks are on sale, I should be buying them, right? Those are speculators. It's actually real estate investors when the market's down here.
Yep, makes sense.
Do you guys get that? When the market's up here, when it's, quote, good, who's buying? Move ups that don't really have to move up. People who have equity in their house and now they're moving up to a new house, right? Second home markets. See, here's the truth, everybody, and this is what I really want you to get out of this part right here. So start the breathing is about where's money exchanging hands and how do you put yourself in the middle? Because truth of the matter is, this is not what the market's doing. The market actually does not do this. The market is not up or down. This is the market. The market does not go up or down. The market goes left and right. You see, if you haven't read the book Who Moved My Cheese, you need to read it.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is the market of these buyers and sellers are no longer the market of the moment. The market shifted from the right side, and now it's over here and shifted to this group of buyers and sellers.
Yep.
And in the middle, there's always a group of people that are always buying and selling. And by the way, it's going to shift again, and it'll move over here to these groups of people. So
and I would say the people in the middle is about 4 million transactions a year, and there's 1 to 2 million on each side based on what the market is. So what you'll see is you'll see more short sales coming out of this. You'll see some new REOs coming in, because what's going to happen? Some buyers or some homeowners are in that deferral program, not realizing they're going to have a balloon payment in a couple of months. So
that's exactly right, Michael. That's exactly right. So I ask all of you, when you look at start the breathing,
yep.
You're asking a question. Here's a question you're asking right here. Where is money exchanging hands? And what are you going to do to put yourself in the middle? So this is all about the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And it's for you to start thinking about right now, where's that market going right now? And what do you do to start preparing yourself so that you are waiting for that? You're a surfer out waiting for the wave so you can ride the wave instead of you chasing it. Okay. Yep. So the question you're going to ask, so here's the other exercise I'm going to ask everybody to do, and then I've got to jump off here. The other exercise is this. It's this simple. Take out a sheet of paper, draw a line right down the middle, and write buyers on one side and sellers on the other. And the question is, who are the buyers that are going to be buying in this market? Because it's shifting. Where do they currently live? How do you find them? And what are they buying? So who are those sellers that they're buying? Right. So back in the last shift in 2007, 8, 9, the buyers were the buyers were the investors. Who were the sellers? They were the banks. They were the REOs and short sales. So where do you find them? Who do you need to get in a relationship with to be able to find those people? So what are you going to do to get out of this being up and down? So it's turned sideways and it's moving left and right. You study who are the buyers and who are the sellers. Does this make sense, everybody?
It does. Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate your time. I know you were cramming this in. That was great stuff. And so at this point, we put in the chat both this PowerPoint and the Excel. Anything else you want to share before signing off, Michael?
You guys take this seriously. Even though right now it may feel like it's not here, and that was the biggest thing that happened in 2008. So many agents sat back and go, well, I'm not feeling it, so I'm not going to adjust. Start adjusting now. Create your pivot budget.
Yep.
Start front loading, right? Start your prepaids, start getting those expenses down, and start looking at where's your market at the moment. Where, if it's not there, you know it's coming. Where's the money going to be exchanging hands? And then step 2 to that, Michael, my mentor from my past taught me these 3 rules. 1, where's money exchanging hands? And put yourself in the middle. 2, when you find that place, do what nobody else wants to do and be the best in the world at doing it. So when I find that space in the middle, back in 2008 and 9, nobody wanted to do REOs. Nobody wanted to do short sales. Okay. So I became an expert at that, right? I did what nobody else wanted to do. And then the third thing is get leverage. So you can stay focused on your highest dollar productive activities so you can double down on those dollar productive activities. So, yeah. Awesome. So thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate you having me on the call.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for your knowledge and thanks for sharing all that great information.
So many of you, good to see your faces. All right. Have a great week.
Awesome. Thank you. Real quick, I want to, as he leaves, I want to kind of talk a little bit for a second, and then we're going to show a funny video. I want to talk for a second on a concept I was sharing before. So I'll use New Jersey as an example. This month, April, into next month, we're seeing a drop of 75% in listings taken. All right, so let's just say 10,000 listings get listed a month. So it's down 75%. So there's 7,500 that's not getting listed this month and next month. That's 15,000. Now, when things open up, do you think all 15,000 are going to say, we're not selling anymore? No. I'd say 60, 70, 80% of them, instead of coming on the market in April and May, are all going to come on at one time in June and July. So why is this important? 2 things. Number 1, as you're talking to potential sellers today, you want to share that concept with them. If they wait until June, they're going to be coming on when everybody else is coming on. They might want to come on a week or 2 before to get ahead of that curve, ahead of that market. You know, we're never able to accurately predict when the spring market's going to come, but by watching the infections come down, and if you go onto your state's COVID website and CDC, you can watch the daily infectious rate. Actually, I'll tell you a quick. So you want to be in the mix. You want to make sure you're doing things right now, because those sellers sitting at home are searching, investigating on Facebook, and they're choosing who their realtor is going to be right now. So if you're not doing anything, you're going to miss that. So let's just say we've got a percentage of this 75% that's all going to come on the market very quickly. Well, here's the cool thing. So we might say, well, only 60% of what we did last year is going to come on the market this year. That's okay, because only 20 to 30% of the realtors are working right now. You're going to have less competition coming out of this the next 60, 90 days than you've ever had, because there's a large percentage of people putting their heads in the sand and waiting for this to be over than are out there doing activity. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity. It might be a fraction less than it was last year, but you'll have considerably less competition than you did this time last year. Do those concepts make sense? You with me? Thumbs up. So again, what we're doing with these 2 o'clock calls is to give you some energy, give you some information. I love this spreadsheet. Please make sure you're pulling that down and playing with that, and start taking action right now. Again, call your database, the carrying call, send a Facebook message, send a text message. Just let people know you're there. I want to share this one document, the CDC document I was just sharing with you. Give me 1 second while you find it. I'm going to go to myself. Right here. So again, I haven't found this yet for New York. In New Jersey, this is on the state website. I would tell all of you to go to this page, and I can get you the URL. Can you see my screen? This is a PDF I downloaded right from New Jersey Department of Health. It's updated every day by the CDC. And the page I go to, there's great stats in here. Obviously, the infection by county. But this is the number that I'm watching. This is the number I'm watching. Can you all see the daily graph that's up in front of you? I'm looking at this daily graph, and I'm not paying attention to these dips. If you look at these low numbers, most of these low numbers are Sundays. So there's a very low reported on Sundays. I'm watching the trend on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. 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 As the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday trends come back down to this level over here, is probably when we're going to see the governor say, go back to work, as they did in Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, and Tennessee today. So there's no way the state is going to wait until it goes to zero. They're not going to wait till it goes to zero. They're going to wait until it gets to a manageable level. At that point, they're going to open the doors again. For those of you asking for the website, give me 2 minutes. When Emily's playing our final video, I will post the website into the thank you, Ian. You're awesome, man. Appreciate that. That's the New York City one. I'll get to the New Jersey one in just a minute. So you want to watch those come down, because in order to succeed in a shift like this, the key is to accurately predict when it's going to happen. And with these numbers we're looking at, we can get really close. So right now, I'm getting the numbers for Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, in order to get an idea of what that seesaw is. At which point are the odds likely the governor is going to open things up? That way you guys can be communicating with your database in order to stay ahead of the curve. And that's some of the things I'll give you either on the early part or the end part of these 2 o'clock calls, is some information on trends. That way you can make sure you stay ahead of your competition. Does that sound good? Awesome. Guys, it's been a pleasure. Please, let's give me 2 minutes to post the New Jersey link. The spreadsheet was posted up in the chat earlier, Alvaro, so if you go up in the chat, you should see it. If you're on a mobile device, Emily, can we post the spreadsheet or make it available on my Facebook page?
I can, if not, I'll put my email address in the chat box and just shoot me an email and I'll send over the spreadsheet.
So if you're on a mobile device and can't download from the chat box, just email Emily and she will get you the spreadsheet and the PowerPoint. Guys, I know without a doubt we're going to get through this, because we're working together and we're a great team, and no great teams fail. So I'm looking forward to working through this process with you, succeeding at a high level, and taking our unfair share as we rebound out of this. Emily, make us laugh.